Yeah, oh, just how I thought. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, I said, come here. Then Mighty Queen Scout says, hold still so I can catch you. And just like that, when Mighty Queen Scout says, hold still so I can catch you. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, get back here. And then Libby asks, Wally, she can run really fast and we're not fast enough. And then Wally asks, I know, and she's about to grab us and her claws are really sharp. Then Libby asks, we need to go really fast. Then Wally asks, what if we go fast or zip? But which one starts with the sound, fast or zip? Then Wally says, yeah, zip. It starts with the letter Z and the Z sound. It's a magic word. Then Wally asks, let's zip. And then Libby asks, Wally, it's working. We're losing her. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, almost got you. And just like that, when Mighty Queen Scout says, almost got you. I almost got you. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, I almost grab you then. And then Libby asks, it worked. We lost her. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, oh, come on. I was so close to grab them. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, uh-oh. Then she said, no. And then wham! She whams onto a tree, having acorns fall on her head. Mighty Queen Scout says, well, I was so close to grab them, but I missed. Then Fuchsia asks, well, we can still have fun. We can just fly around. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, stop your silly dilly-dallying. We had to kidnap them. And then Labrador asks, yes, Fuchsia, stop your silly dilly-dallying. And
더 캄캄한 이곳에 shine like the stars 그 미소를 띠며 I'll kiss you goodbye 시간 비웃어라 꼴조니까 이제 너희 하나 둘셋 How you like that? You gon' like that Da-da-da-da-da-da-da Like that? How you like that? Da-da-da-da-da-da Look at you now, look at me. Look at you now, look at me. Look at you now, look at me. How you like that? Look at you now, look at me. Look at you now, look at me. Look at you now, look at me. How you like that? 나에게 이른 새로 추락했던 날 어둠 바다 속에 갇혀 있던 날 그때쯤에 넌 날 끝내야 했어 Up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane Bring out the garbage. Like me. How you like that? You gon' like that? How you like that?
just like that, when Labrador Lace says, yes, Fuchsia, stop your silly dilly-dallying. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, ouch, my nose. Then Labrador Lace says, oops, sorry. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, okay, enough with the silly dilly-dallying. Let's just continue after them. And then, meanwhile, Wally says, okay, guys, let's get that tiara and stop Mighty Queen Scout before she destroys the whole forest. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, oh no, Wally Trollman, Normal Trollman, Zach the Gnome, and Libby Lightsprite. Since I, Mighty Queen Scout, I still had this tiara, and I have my pointy tail and my sharp claws, and I still want to turn the whole forest into an ice wasteland or a Mighty Queen wasteland, but maybe for again turn the whole forest into a ice wasteland, I want to turn the whole forest into a Mighty Queen wasteland. Then they all said, a Mighty Queen wasteland? And then Scout asked, yeah, Fuchsia and Labrador were right. I want to turn the whole forest into a wasteland. But first, I have to knock down every single tree. And then Wally asked, maybe I should ask her. And then Wally asked, excuse me, Mighty Queen Scout, I'm Wally, and this is my stick. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, why is that? And then Wally says, well, we'll be okay if we can have the tiara back. And then Wally asks, what if I make the tiara fly? And then Mighty Queen Scout says, shh. And then Wally says, well, that was weird. And then Mighty Queen Scout repeats it back saying, yeah, that was weird. And then Wally says, well, I didn't know she could hiss really loud. And then Norval says that he could try, but Mighty Queen Scout says, shh. But Norval got freaked out, and then Wally says, I know, she can hiss really loud, and I think she has mega hiss. And they all said, mega hiss? And then Wally asked, yeah, every time we get close to her, she hisses at us. And then Wally asked, let's get closer to her. Then Wally asked, where'd she go? Then Libby says, Wally, look, they got that tree out of the ground. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, bandmates, let's get out of here. Then Zach the Gnome says, no worries at all. I'm with Wally. And then Wally says, and I'm with you, Zach. Let's go get them. Then Wally says, whoa, they're down there on that cliff, and we can't get them down there. Then Wally asks, how are we going to get them? And then Zach the Gnome says, what are other words that have the Z sound? I know, what do we use the word zip? And then Wally says, well, let's try. Then Wally says, and how about we use the word line? And then Zach the Gnome says, wait, I think I know what these words spell. Zip line. And then Wally says, zip line. Then Wally asks, does zip line start with Z? Then Wally says, yeah, zip line. It starts with the letter Z and the Z sound. It's a magic word, twice. Then Wally asks, so let's make a zip line. Then Zach asks, yes, how does this work? And then Wally asks, you'll see, hang on. And then Zach the Gnome says, I'm flying! I'm zip-lying. And then Wally says, pretty fun, huh? Look, there they are. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, uh-oh. And then Mighty Queen Scout asks, bandmates, go faster. And then Wally asks, okay, Zach, get ready to grab and 3, 2, 1, grab. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, oh! Then she went, ah. Then Fuchsia blushes. And then Scout asks, zip it. And then Wally asks, we did it. We got the tree back, and it's safe where it belongs. And then Zach the Gnome says, zipline, that's going on the list. And then Libby asks, nice catch, Wally. Now, let's go get that cat. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, well. Sorry, Light Sprite. Since I, Mighty Queen Scout, I still have this tiara. And how about you all can cool it? And then Libby says, look out. And then Libby says, wow, her powers are getting really strong. How are we supposed to stop her? Then Wally asks, I have no idea. We can't stop her. And then Wally says, let's see if we can get closer to her. And then Bob Goblin says, hey, leave Bob Goblin alone. Then he asks, Wally Strowman. And then Wally asks, what's wrong, Bob Goblin? And then Bob Goblin asks, Bob Goblin's being chased by Fuchsia and Labrador, and they're after me, and they got their powers, and they're going after me. Then Wally asks, I know, and Mighty Queen Scout is aiming for us. Then Libby asks, and she stole the tiara with a meteor crystal on there and got superpowers and become Mighty Queen of the Forest. Then Bob Goblin asks, I know, her bandmates are after me, and now 3 of them are after us. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, that's right, Goblin. How about you all can cool it? And they both said, ah. And then Wally says, quick, guys, run. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, hey, get back here. Then Mighty Queen Scout says, hey, come back here. Get back here. Come here. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, hold still so I can zap you. And then Scout starts singing a song called Happy Mighty Queen Day. After the song, Mighty Queen Scout says, ha ha. Finally, I got you now. Then Libby asks, oh no, Mighty Queen Scout have us surrounded. She's gonna try to get us. Then Bob Goblin asks, oh, couldn't this day get any worse? Wait a minute, every time Bob Goblin says it, things are starting to get a little worse. And then Bob Goblin asks, see what I mean? And then Mighty Queen Scout says, alright, it's time for the zap. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, say good night. Then, whoa, she almost zapped them. Libby says, whoa, Wally, she's trying to zap us. Look out. And then Libby asks, Wally, you know she's trying to zap us. And then Libby says, and her powers are really strong. And then Scout and her spammates turn herself into the sirens. Libby says, oh no, I read that before. Mighty Queen Scout and her spammates called herself the Sirens. And they both said, And then Bob Goblin says, ha! Missed me by the ear. Then Bob Goblin says, okay, maybe Bob Goblin's wrong about that, but what about Mighty Queen Scout? And then Mighty Queen Scout says, ha, finally, I have you trapped, and how about you all can cool it? And then Libby asks, do something, Wally. Then Wally asks, I don't know, I can't think of a word that has the letter Z. And then Zach the Gnome says, well, that's it, guys. I'm changing my name once and for all to Gary because I can't think about zero because I don't like the letter Z. Then Wally asks, wait, Zach, what word that you just said? And then Zach asks, I said my name is Gary. See, it says so right here, Gary. And then Wally asks, no, what word that you just said? And then Zach the Gnome asks, zero. Then Wally asks, yeah, zero. Does zero start with a Z sound? Yeah, zero. It starts with the letter Z and the Z sound. Then Libby asks, hurry, Wally. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, alright, all, say good night. And then Wally says, Wally Kazam, Wally Kazik, let's make Mighty Queen Scout and her spammates powers zero. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, oh, no, my powers. And then they all said, alright, yeah. And then Wally asks, we did it. We got the tiara back. And then, Scout's bandmates were kind of hurt. Then, Scout began to cry. And then Scout began to cry after she got defeated. Wally says, Scout? And then Scout says, I'm sorry. Then she asks, I'm so sorry. Mighty Queen asks, I'm sorry, Wally. I didn't mean to be the Mighty Queen. I couldn't control myself. I have a pointy tail and sharp claws. And I didn't mean to steal Rarity's tiara. And then Mighty Queen Scout asked, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to. I promise I won't do it again. And then Mighty Queen Scout asked, I'm sorry. And then Wally asked, that's okay, Scout. Promise not to do it again, okay? Then Scout asked, okay, I won't do it ever again. And then Scout was so happy. Everyone were so happy that Scout was fine, even though she got hurt after she got defeated. And then Wally asked, can you believe it? We finally defeated Scout and her spammates. And then Scout asked, well, being a Mighty Queen was so exhausted. I feel like being Scout again. I don't want to be a Mighty Queen ever again. And then Labrador asked, yeah, me too. I don't want to be a Mighty Queen anymore. Then Fuchsia asked, yeah, me too. Well, since 3 of us are together again, let's have fun. And then Mighty Queen Scout says, well, I guess. Well, in the second episode, Mighty Queen Scout and her spammates comes out in the mirror. Mighty Queen Scout says, ugh, another one hot sunny day. I need to get off this miserable planet.